Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Retro Life Review, movies of the 1980s and 90s. My name is Chris Adams, host of the show.
Yep.
And with us, as always, the man himself,
Yo, yo.
Travis Rollins.
What's that, man? Did you have
How
a
you
good
doing, man?
weekend? I'm pretty
Yeah,
good. How about yourself?
that's pretty good. We're pretty good. I've been kind of busy this weekend. I went out with a friend, ate lunch this weekend, caught up with her, and we had a good time. And came back home and did some things I had to do here. It was for those who are wrestling fans, it's Royal Rumble weekend, so I watched Royal Rumble.
Yo, yo, yo. How happy was I when I heard Trish
Mhm.
Stratus laugh? Ooh, I got so excited. I jumped up off my daggum couch. And then when the Queen returned, I was so excited. I don't keep up with it like I used to. I don't watch all the. This is for some very different podcasts that you do regularly and I sit in on sometimes, but the new management team, the era, the Hunter Hearst Helmsley era, the Paul Levesque era,
Yeah,
they've done a phenomenal job of rekindling kayfabe with um, the things that go on behind the scenes, so to speak. But they're leveraging social medias and public events and things, and they're kind of bringing the kayfabe back, and they're doing it
right.
so well.
They are.
But I'd seen, I've over the last year, I've Googled a couple times, Charlotte coming back, and I said she would and everything, but I didn't know she was coming out last night, and like I got so happy,
It was
so happy.
funny. Ray Franklin and I were going back and forth in real time through Messenger while the Rumble was going on, and we did a pre-show on it, and I told him
Mhm.
I had thought that Trish Stratus was coming back for it. I'd read somewhere she's probably going to come back, and he's like, "Oh, we don't need it. We don't need her back. Leave all these old names out. Don't bring the ones who aren't relevant today. Leave them out. We don't need them." I said,
Trish
"Well."
Stratus will be relevant until forever.
She has
I
no
watch
what he
Canadian. I
means by
watch Canadian. I watch Canada's Got Talent for Trish Stratus, dude. I watch her crappy B movies. I've got. I get top fan merits on Facebook.
well, what he means by relevant is that she has no current storyline going on or anything. There's
Yeah,
nothing
I'm just
involving her. So, but I had told him, I said, Zoe Stark kind of turned on her when she was last there, and she had some unfinished business with her. Maybe she'll come back for that. Well, he goes, "Nah, I don't see it happening." So, as soon as her little laugh come on and the music started playing, I got a message that just simply said, "I know, I know, I know."
that's
I didn't even
hilarious.
get to tell him I told him so. He beat me to it.
I think it's
But
a. I think it. I don't know if they'll pull the storyline in with her. I think it's just one time things to kind of put her back in people's minds. She just did. I now her. I do keep up with. Like I said, I get top fan merits on Facebook, but she does a lot of stuff with her yoga and her books,
mhm,
and she just did a 2025 calendar, and I mean she's still super busy.
yeah, yeah. But it,
I
it,
was glad
it was a
Jay got
fun.
it too, but man,
I
but I
I
guess it
was
sets
not.
John. It sets John up for. I wanted John to get it from the beginning.
John
I want
John Cena is probably
John
going to win the
Cena
elimination chamber.
deserves to be 17. He deserves to be standing on that by himself. He deserves
But
it.
he's probably going to win the elimination
And
chamber,
it's
which will
what
get
the
him a title
fans
match.
want.
So
That's
yeah,
what the fans want.
yeah. But it was a fun
Anyway,
week. It was a great pay per view. I liked it. So I don't watch wrestling as much as I used to, but I never missed the Royal Rumble when it comes on throughout the year. So that
yep.
was a for sure thing.
I've
We're gonna
missed
try
two
something.
WrestleManias in my life.
Yeah, well, Royal Rumble and WrestleManias were two things that have been a mainstay. I've always
Hmm.
watched them. The rest of them, if I missed one or two, I didn't care too much. So,
Yeah.
but we're gonna try something new this week. First off, this is the month
Yeah.
of February, and we are looking at another theme month here. We're gonna have romantic comedies, romance movies throughout the month of February. Now, I can hear 1,000 guys out there groaning right now. Oh no, they caved in.
You pronounced it wrong. It's
Eh,
February, and I'm tired of
February.
Wednesday's crap too. February and Wednesday need to go on somewhere.
Well, that's right. So we are gonna do. Travis had a good idea. I'm gonna say this is a good idea. I don't know if this may be something we'll bring back off and on. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know about the long haul though, but maybe off and on. I could
yeah.
see us doing it for sure. We're gonna do two movies in each episode except for one, And the one movie episode is going to be for the week of Valentine's Day, and it's going to be Shakespeare in Love. Today, however, we have two movies, and what we're doing is we're taking a person from the '80s who had a romance movie, rom com or something, and we're tying it in with another one from the '90s. That way, we
Mm,
can get in one of the good '90s movies and one of the good '80s movies, and not feel like we've left things out. This week,
yeah.
we are going to go with Splash, starring Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. And we are going to tie it in with Tom Hanks once again in Sleepless in Seattle with Meg Ryan.
There we go. And before y'all go crazy over Shakespeare in Love, if you hadn't seen it, I'm telling you, from a man's man, go watch Shakespeare in Love. Movie's
Yeah,
so good. I'm
I
gonna,
haven't seen
I'm
it.
not
He's
gonna
done.
say anything else about it until next week. I talked Chris into letting it be the Valentine's movie, but this one of my, not just one of my favorite, like rom com, whatever you it falls into. Like this movie's probably in my top 10 of every movie of just movies. Like I would
Yeah.
put it in my top 10. I love this movie.
Well, I will find out soon, one day this week. I have not seen it myself ever, so this will be my first time watching it.
I'm excited.
So I will take
How
your word
about
for it.
Splash?
Well,
I've been watching
Splash.
Splash. That's
Yeah,
how I knew I was a boy. I saw that mermaid walking out of that water in that statue of Miss Liberty.
you were just looking at her butt. That's all you were doing.
Yeah.
Uh, Splash, a 1984 rom com fantasy movie directed by Ron Howard. Stars Tom Hanks, Daryl Hannah,
Was
John
that
Candy, and
Ronnie?
Eugene Levy. Yeah, it was Ron Howard.
Excuse me, Lord help. Yeah, I didn't realize that was
Basically,
Ronnie.
yeah, basically the film's a heartwarming tale of love, destiny, and the magic of the unknown, wrapped in a humor and lighthearted adventure. Tom Hanks, as a young boy, falls off of a what was it a ferry or was it just a
Yeah,
boat they
yeah.
were on? Yeah,
It was like a straight up ferry. It had the
yeah,
paddles on it and everything. They was
right,
yeah,
like the Staten Island ferry or something. Because
yeah,
they were in New York, so falls off into the water, and it's near Cape Cod. Had a brief enchanting encounter with a young mermaid before being rescued. Now he thought it was not real. He thought it was just
right. He
some
was
kind of
drowning.
a dream, and he was drowning. Yeah, he was drowning in some kind of dream because he couldn't swim. So he
Right.
thought maybe he just seen it was in his head. But years later, he's never basically had a solid relationship. I don't think. I think is what it was. Um,
Yeah.
After a failed relationship leaves him questioning his happiness once again, Alan returns to Cape Cod and finds himself falling into the ocean only to be saved by a beautiful, mysterious woman. Unbeknownst to him, she is the same mermaid from his childhood. She retrieves his lost wallet because you see it falling to the floor down the water there, the ocean. Determined to see him again, she follows him to New York City. When they're out of the water, it's since they take the form of human form.
Well, it's like
So
the Little Mermaid, like the Disney movie, kind of
yeah,
like legit. I was like, dang, this is like pre-Disney Little Mermaid here.
yeah. So I say, but Splash come before Little Mermaid though.
I
Uh,
know that's yeah.
and she tries to tell. It's kind of humor. She tries to tell. He says, "What's your name?" She says, "Well, I can't really say it in
Oh
your
God, that was
language
so
or
funny.
something." And he says, "Well, tell me in your language." And it's like,
Yeah, it sounded like a dolphin.
yeah, it sounds like a dolphin. And it's so high pitched and loud it blows up all the TV screens in the Electronic Express she's in. I think it was Electronic Express that they showed on there.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of references to culture at the time too. Then, like there's a shot of a movie theater outside, and they've got two current movies from that year that was at the theater. One of them was Extra, which was like a sci-fi horror movie. I remember, and I forget what the other one was. It was showing with us. There was like a double feature at the theater there. But a lot of references to stuff like that. Um,
So and just think about this for a second though. Everyone was aware of this. Like how I said it was like the Little Mermaid. Everyone was aware of that, I guess, because the fountain from the movie is now on display at Disney's Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World, and Ariel in the Little Mermaid in 1989 was originally blonde, but was made a redhead to look different from Madison, like because I guess the movies were that close together.
yeah,
So that's pretty neat.
yeah, and she got the name Madison because that's what it said on the street sign.
Yeah.
that they were out. Now, this movie also, I don't know if you know this or not, but it kind of inspired people to name their daughters Madison. It wasn't a popular
Hmm.
name at the time before that, but as it went on, people were naming their kids Madison a lot more than what they were.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
Now, as their romance blossoms, you got Eugene Levy's character, Dr. Walter Kornbluth,
And he did
and
his thing again, even back then.
yeah,
He was absolutely hilarious.
oh yeah, Eugene Levy's always been funny though.
That guy can't miss. He don't miss.
No, it's always been good. They
The
refer to him
cool
as a
points are out the
nosy.
window. Tell her the cool points are out the window, and you got me all twisted up to get in the game. Nobody ever said anything that nice to me before.
uh, I believe you're way after Splash on that one.
That's way after Splash.
Um,
That was
but
way after American Pie.
yeah, yeah. They they describe his character as a nosy, eccentric scientist. And I think he's been setting out to prove that mermaids were real. Is
That
the
was his
project?
whole mission. Because
Yeah,
remember, he went back. There's a point in it where he goes back to his old teacher or professor, and he was telling him he was crazy. He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You are the one that taught me this." So he's the one that got him. He was there just for the mermaids.
right, right. Um, and he knows the only way to expose her, I guess, is to throw water on her. He catches her in public and he throws water on her, and then there she is. She's a mermaid in front of the world now. The government wants to do research on her, and at this point, it's up to Alan and his brother to rescue her and get her back to where she goes. So it
And
was a very fun movie. It's very funny too. It's very funny.
very funny when he's trying to expose her. Now, I was telling Tasha, my wife watched this with me. I convinced her to watch both of them with me this week, and I was telling her for some reason when I was a kid, I thought that when I saw it when I was a kid, I haven't seen this since the 80s. But for some reason I was thinking that the first time he just threw plain water on her instead of salt water, and that was the issue. But no, no, because I remembered it right when he did it. I remembered it. I said, "Oh yeah, that's right. That's how he gets his." But anyway, so he throws his water on the girl. It's the wrong one. Right. The dude turns around and comes up, beats him up. Next time you see him, he's in like an arm cast. His arm is like
Right.
pushed up to the side and everything. Well, then he catches him going onto an elevator. He runs over and he smashes the glass on the fire hose. Runs over there as soon as the door opens, and she's wearing the same color dress again. The door opens. He squirts the fire hose. If it ain't the same couple, my man, my man comes off the elevator. You just see his fist coming at the camera, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that was
Um,
it is a hilarious. And John Candy, dude, John Candy don't miss either. Like that's
no, John Candy was great in this. He was hilarious. Eugene Levy was hilarious. But this movie,
mm,
now Tom Hanks was funny in points, in parts in this movie. But this is the first
yeah.
movie I think where he got his real chance of being like a leading man kind of thing, and
Hmm.
show something other than his comedic chops. Because
Yeah,
this isn't Bachelor Party. This isn't the what was it, the guy with one red shoe or something like that, or
something like that.
it's not him on TV um, doing the show where they're dressing up as women to stay in that apartment
Yeah, wasn't
building.
it him and it was him and John Travolta?
No, it was
Him and
the guy from
him and
Newhart.
oh, is that
Um,
what it was?
yeah, the show is called Bosom Buddies.
Bosom buddies. Yeah.
Peter Scolari
Okay.
was the other one in that one. So this is him trying to he's got a lot of serious parts to it, and it's because of the love story between him and Madison. Um, of him acting this way. He said nothing but failed relationships, but something's dragging him toward her. He
Hmm.
can feel it, and there's always been something that's pulled him toward the ocean, but he always writes it off and everything as being just nothing. Um, the movie itself, though, the kind of impact it made when it came out, yes, it was hilarious and such, but there's always a story behind the story, right? I mean, it's like it's a tale about love, defying the odds. the wonder of the unknown, which would be like living in the ocean with her, being a mermaid and all. The courage for somebody to follow their heart into something and not cave in to what everybody else is saying and thinking. Just go forward with what you want and everything. Um, as I mentioned earlier, it played a pretty big role in things like people naming their kids Madison. And as far as that goes, it played a role in Tom Hanks's career as a leading man in Hollywood. There's plenty
For sure,
more after that, but this kind
for
of this
sure.
this is what kind of launched him though for a leading man kind of thing, not just
Yeah, and
not just some funny guy.
I think it was probably one of the biggest for me when I think of 80s rom-coms. I don't think about the John Hughes movies. I don't think about all the other stuff. When I think of rom-coms from the 80s, I think of three movies, and it's Splash, Cherry 2000, and Mannequin. Those are the three that come to my mind immediately. Maybe that's just because that's what I saw. You know what I mean? And those were the ones that I remember that stick out to me from that point in time where it was a love story.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the three big ones for me from the 80s.
Yeah. And you can't help but love Daryl Hannah's character she's playing as Madison. Because she is this big innocence to her as how everything is new. She hasn't heard
She got
music.
that a
She
fair
hasn't
bit too.
watched.
Remember
Yeah, she hasn't
when
watched TV.
she was on Still Magnolias, wasn't it? That we watched not long ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with Tom Skerritt with
Mhm.
Strawberry from Up in Smoke.
This
Yeah, and she kind of made that transition from sweet innocent know nothing over to the
a little
wild
more,
one.
serious. I think she had a little more
Hmm.
serious role in Legal Eagles as well with I think that was
Yep,
Robert
yep.
Redford. She was in that. So I mean, she's had quite a career, and hers changes just as much as Tom Hanks did, I believe.
I think too that Daryl, out of the, I don't know what you would call them, not the bombshells, but I guess the all the love interests are the female, the big female castings from that point in time. I feel like she had the most out of the bunch. She had the most classic beauty about her. I felt like she was the closest to the throwback to like a Bo Derek or the Charlie's Angels girls. Farrah Fawcett. That's what I was trying to think of. Her and Jackie.
Right?
I feel like out of the group of people that we had during that time period that were leading ladies, I think she was like the most classic throwback beauty to those that we had from the 50s and 60s as well.
Yeah, and based Splash remains to this day a nostalgic favorite from the '80s, based on like you just said earlier. You think of three different movies. A lot of people, when they think of romantic comedies from the '80s, Splash is one of the first things that come up.
For sure.
So it's not just an opinion of us on the show. It's a lot of people out there will say the very same
Yeah, and
thing.
it wasn't just all jokes aside. This is gonna come out funny, but I mean it very seriously. But boobies and butt cheeks were everywhere in movies in the 80s, so it really, you know what I mean? Like that wasn't technic, but like that. Sure, it didn't hurt, but that wasn't the only reason.
Right, right. And there's a good supporting cast in the movie. John Candy wasn't the star of the movie, but he played a very good role playing the brother
Mhm.
to Alan Bauer. They owned what was a little produce company or something together.
Mhm. Mhm.
They were running. Eugene Levy is the we mentioned the doctor, the scientist, whatever you want to call him. Always messing up and being in trouble. We had Shecky Green that was in there as a small role. He
He
was
was
Mr. Byright, I believe it was.
yeah. He was wasn't he the butthole doctor? Like he wasn't he the one that told Eugene Levy that he wasn't one of his colleagues, I think. He was like the lead scientist doing the probes and stuff on her or the experiments when they actually caught her. I thought. I could be wrong.
All I know is it says Mr. Byright. I can't remember exactly
Yeah,
which.
I can't recall.
I thought he
I
was one
just
of the people
watched
that
the
was
movie.
buying produce from them. Was what I thought he was.
Maybe that's what it was. He was the one that owned all the other grocery store chains that John Candy told him that he told him that Tom Hanks got injured in Vietnam, and then there was one part where he was meeting with him. They came to meet the brothers, and he answered the phone, and they told him that it was the police. Told him that they had picked Madison up. or they'd picked the woman up. He didn't know she didn't even have a name yet, and he got in the car and peeled out. And they were like, "What in the world?" He's like, I don't know what to tell you. You know, he got shot in the head, and ever since that happened, the phone ring gets him in some kind of relapse, and he just jumps in the car and drives away. And it added to it because he had the daggum bandage around his head too. And Dave was like, "Hey, how's your wound doing? I see you're still bandaged up." There's little caveats to this one. This it
Uh,
make for a good one.
yeah, and Shecky Green, he's a person that you've known from a lot of TV series as well. He's one of those actors. A lot of
Hmm.
television shows, a lot of staying busy and acting and everything. So if you've seen him, you definitely know who it is when you see him.
I got to throw this out there too. We're getting getting closer to the halfway mark, so I want to make
Hmm.
sure I don't forget this. So our good friend Marty would go back and possibly watch this movie and pointed out that one of us missed this during the chase scene. My wife and I thought this was strange too. Like, why would they let that go? Now, I know it's legit. It's probably well. When I said that, she said, "Well, we all know nothing happens in Hollywood accidentally, you know." But when the military was chasing them after they went and broke her out of the facility, one of the big deuce and a quarters had on the front of it, it had the transport labels, you know how they do? And it said trans and then the tag, the regular tag, and then 666. So it said trans. I told her, so, that's transport number 666, but still, it said trans 666. I was like, oh my God, did you just see that, baby? And she was like, ooh. I was like, yeah. I was like, look,
That's
that's
bad luck
Hollywood.
right from the
She
get
said,
go
we
there.
all know that nothing is coincidence in Hollywood. I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's like some bad luck from the get go right there.
I'm
Transport
telling you what.
six, six, six.
Six. I love that too. The they blocked him in. They went down a busy road and they had a cabbie there waiting on his fare.
Uh
He
huh.
basically gave him the New York howdy or California howdy. I don't think he did
California,
flip him off.
howdy.
I don't think he did flip him off, but he's like, I'm waiting on a fare here. So like the sergeant jumped out and all the boys piled out the back. They just reached over there and flipped that daggone cab up on its side and drove on through. They're like, all right, sir, you have a nice day, and then saluted him.
There was some um, some questions thrown out about this movie, and it was like, do you think that Alan made the right decision at the end of the movie to join Madison out at sea? And
Oh,
I mean,
how
absolutely. I mean, that's the
often?
whole point. It's the love
Yeah,
story, right? You're meeting the love of your life, and if it means you're moving somewhere else, you're just moving somewhere else, And
and not only that, they did show because they, for the most of me, I'm like, well, I mean, what in the world? She just living in a shipwreck all by herself. No wonder she dang. But at, there at the end, it shows like the Aquapolis, or whatever what's it called, Atlantis
Atlantis.
or whatever that they live. I call it Aquapolis.
So and then it
So
follows up.
there's some magic down there that can give him some gills or something.
Well, when she kisses him, he's able to breathe underwater.
Right? Yeah.
So I mean, he's already able to breathe
He
at
might
this
get
point.
filled up when he goes down there, though. He
The
might get
thing
filled
was,
up with little fins.
he couldn't swim. That was the big knock on him. He couldn't swim.
Yeah.
But
But what I'm
so
saying is he might get full on. He might get a full on big whale flipper when he gets down there.
you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. The other person followed up with the that do you think he made the right decision? Says, what do you think Madison and Alan's life is like in the ocean after the movie ends? I mean, you can speculate all you want. I mean, it's a fantasy film, right? It's a fantasy love story.
Yeah.
We're sure they went down there and it's been all roses since then.
Yeah. They run around eating lobster shell and all.
That's right. Having baby mermaids.
And baby mermaid stuff. Running from the mako sharks and all. Or they might be able to talk to him. We don't know. Didn't she talk to the turtle or something? The turtle came through when she was looking at the map and she got mad at it. That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like you. I guess what I thought about when that happened too. I was like, because when he came by, it made the water ripple, kind of like the wind blowing your map away.
right? Do you think today, there's rom coms that come out still to this point today, obviously, in romance movies and all. Do you think Splash would be successful if it was made today, or is
I
it just
think it would work.
or do you think it's just the '80s feel to it though that made it work?
I think it would work. I think it would work because it's far enough removed. Um, I think it would work, but I don't know how well received it would be because everybody under our age or the age of the generation that know about this movie would just write it off as a Little Mermaid ripoff. And they did just do the live action Little Mermaid or whatever. But I do still think it would work. I think this is a movie that you could remake.
Yeah,
I guess
and
that's the point of it. I think it's a movie that you could remake, but in the current social climate, I'm not sure it would do well. How about that?
yeah, I mean, any movie can be remade. The question is sometimes should it be remade or would it be beneficial to remake it
Yeah, this
like
is
they
not
would
like a
do with
Rambo or nothing.
right. So, well, I say it's a good time at this point to go ahead and transition and go over to the Sleepless in Seattle with Tom Cruise,
So
with Tom Hanks now becoming a leading man and taking
moving
those kind of
forward,
roles. Then,
moving forward in time. That's
right,
why y'all need to come to listen to Retro Life because we move through space and time.
space and time. That's heavy.
It's heavy, bro.
That's
And
heavy.
we're all moving through space and time technically, but I'm just saying, we go back and forth. Everybody don't do that.
That's right.
Everybody else is moving forward in space and time. We go backwards and forwards.
Now, I believe that a certain person on this show tonight did not like Sleepless in Seattle too much.
I watched this movie and at the end of it, I said this movie was so unrealistic. I take the mermaid movie every day of the week.
So I think a lot of people out there know what Sleepless in Seattle is. However, as always, I
Probably more than Splash.
got you a little rundown on it. So Sleepless in Seattle, beloved 1993 romantic comedy drama directed by Nora
Not
Ephron.
beloved by all. Not beloved by all.
Not beloved by oh wait. It is beloved. Let me start over then. Let me start over. Sleepless in Seattle is a beloved 1993 romantic comedy drama, except by Travis,
Yep.
directed by Nora Ephron and starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. The film is known for its heartwarming storytelling, its witty dialogue, the emotional depth. It became an instant classic in the romance genre, drawing inspiration from the 1957 film An Affair to Remember. It tells the story of two people who are seemingly destined to be together, even though they've never met. Um, so basically, Tom Hanks' character, Sam Baldwin, he's an architect. He loses his wife. She passes away, and him and his son, Jonah, are having a hard time comprehending this and getting over it. And so he takes a cross country move from Chicago and goes to Seattle to get away from everything there because everything there reminds him of his wife, Maggie. Um, on Christmas Eve, the son, Jonah, calls it to a national radio talk show, and despite Sam's initial reluctance, convinces him to share his feelings live on the air. His heartfelt story, detailing his deep love for his late wife and his fear of never finding love again, touches the hearts of thousands of listeners, including journalist Annie Reed, played by Meg Ryan. So he's getting thousands of letters because the kid gave the address to the radio station and the phone number too. So they're getting all kinds of letters come in. They're looking at some of them, reading some of them, and the son finds one from Meg Ryan's character Annie Reed, and he just thinks it sounds good. He said it felt right to him and everything, and he wants his dad to go, like the letter says, to New York City on Valentine's Day and meet at the top of the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things where a lot of people are like this. I mean, they think that they believe that there's a person for them out there, and one day they're just going to run into them, and they're going to know that's the person. That's the
Right.
feel you get, and he doesn't feel like this is that same thing. Tom Hanks's character Sandball, but he doesn't think it's that exactly. He thinks it's just the fact that a bunch of women heard him on the radio, and they're all wanting to get with him because it sounds just romantic to them. I guess that he still has that love for his wife and that belief and everything.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one of the pretenses about this movie that it talks about is going forward and having that belief that there's that one person for you out there and going out on faith and things of that nature and taking that chance, because it's a big chance going across country that that person's actually going to be there for one, two, that you'll like them, you know, and then it works out. It's never something that you want to take that kind of that big of a risk on. You would think. Well, I mean, would you, if you were in his position, this character in the movie, would you take that chance and make that trip that far because some person that you don't
So
know, as a stranger, says they will be there?
no. And the only reason that he did make the trip was because their little boy ran out. Their little boy got on the flight by himself and ran out there.
Yes.
Um, so absolutely not. As I said, this is like she flew out there and stalked him and watched them play on the beach. Like she went to the house, knocked on the door, and saw they were leaving on the boat and followed them on the road, keeping them in sight, and then peeked around the corner like a creeper, watching them play football.
And the
Never
whole
said a word
time,
to him.
and let's not forget the whole time she's engaged to Bill Pullman.
Yeah, and
His
the whole
character
time she's
Walter.
engaged to Bill Pullman, who's got some sinus issues. Don't blame a man for that. And daggum, she she don't even say nothing and then flies all the way back out there. It's like, look, if I was a dude, he'd be in jail. But I want to show you. Can I? Let me. I want to show you something to see if you feel the same way I do. Let's see. We'll go. See if it's the third one. No, it's gonna be. It's gonna be this one. All right, I want to show you that right there, real quick. You can see that
All
that
right.
picture of Meg, the
Yep.
picture of Meg right there.
See Meg
All right,
Ryan.
now,
Yes.
okay, okay. Now, just tell me if I'm crazy. I'm not still sharing, right?
No, it's not there anymore.
Okay, learning how to work this, y'all. Sorry about that. And it's only going to be funny to those of you that can see it. I'm just saying. I noticed that while I was watching this movie.
Why Judge Reinhold?
Can you see it though? Can you see it
You're talking about around the eyes and everything, I think, aren't you?
in the mouth too?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's just. I mean, they
I was
aged.
like,
What do you?
"Dang,
What
man,
they?
Meg looked
They
like Judge Run." No, I saw it during this movie. You put a look at the old ones. Like I was thinking him in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and then her in this movie, and I was like, "Wow." Like that's why
maybe
Meg
there's
never was that attractive to me personally
maybe
because
there's a
she looks like
relation or
Judge
something.
Reinhold.
Could be a relation to him.
I looked it up. I looked it up. I was gonna ask it, but I looked it up. I did a
So
pregame.
a no relation then.
No relation and no relationships. But no, I thought this was kind of honestly, I thought it was kind of ridiculous. I mean, I feel like it could. Okay, I know how to make this movie to where I would have liked it.
Okay.
I wouldn't have spent the entire movie showing him and his son living out here by himself in the radio show, and then her being with Bill Pullman and Jabba the Road. No, I'm just kidding. But I couldn't help myself.
Rosie O'Donnell.
But Rosie O'Donnell and them they spent the entire movie talking about her talking about him and not no, of course I'm getting married. He's such a wonderful, but she's obsessing over this dude that she just heard on the radio talking. And then he's just trying to cope with what's going on. Maybe get out there. He found a new girl to date there for a little bit. And the little boy was like calling into the radio station, like, oh my God, they're kissing. like. So if they had spent maybe half of the movie with that, and then halfway through the movie, the part of it after they got on the elevator, that's the part that I'm interested. I would have been more interested in seeing them grow into something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the way Bill Pullman handled her telling him, like she just came clean with him, and I respect that. But he's like, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So he kind of Ronnie Millsap there. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't but nothing but a button off my shirt, girl. Go ahead. But no, I think is if for the investment that you give the movie, um, even back then, I feel like I would have felt this way. It's as much acclaim that it got for the script and everything, and I see what they're talking about, but at the same time, I don't think it was as poignant as what they're trying to give it credit to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like you said, he didn't go off on his own. He's chasing his son. His son answered the letter himself and arranged everything. Um,
And then him and his sons. how about I tell you what I did like. The son was my favorite thing about the movie, to be honest with you. His son was something else, but the little girlfriend his son done made when they spun around in the egg chair. What was it? I can't remember what it was. She told him something about
hey, H and G.
H&G. There you go.
He's like, what?
Hi and
Hi and
goodbye.
goodbye.
Hi and goodbye.
And he
They
goes,
spun
his
back
son's
around.
like,
He said,
look, his son's like,
"Close the
Dad,
door."
yeah, can you shut the door, please? He's like,
Yeah,
yeah. Then
he
he
shut
opens
it,
it
sat
back
it
up
back
where he can
open.
see. Yeah, it's like
That was funny.
his son knew what he was doing, but the dad was falling behind. It looked like,
I tell you what.
but I mean, and then of course the
What
way they
did you
just,
think of it? What was your opinion of it as far as like the way I just described it? As far as the love story. I mean, it's a.
I
I think
looked
it's a
at it a
beautiful
different way.
premise.
I looked at it a different
Yeah.
way. I looked at it. I tried to look at it through the eyes of somebody who wants to find someone to fall for that's real. It's like it's a real legit thing. It's not like you went out and you just settled for somebody because your wife has passed away and she's gone, and you just didn't go out and just settle and take the first person that came along or the second person. In a way, you waited and you let nature take its course and you find just that right person, because once
Right.
you met that person, you clicked, you knew everything was right. Remember him talking about early in the movie how he tells the son
He said
that
he'll know.
you don't go out for dinner, you go out for drinks, because that way,
Yeah.
if you don't get along together, it's going to be disastrous. You can say, well, this was good, it was nice to meet you and spend time with you, but if you're at dinner, you might get stuck. And then, as it turns out, he ends up having to go have dinner, and he's with that woman there. And I think he kind of pushed it and was just accepting it for what it was and settling for that woman that he worked
Right.
with versus giving any of the others a chance. So the fact that he took that, or he had to go after his son to begin with, but when he got there, he still went through with it and took that that leap, I guess we could say.
Yeah. And see, that's the other thing too that I caught about that is when he told him as well. He's like, "You'll know, I'll know when I see her." You know what I mean? He's like, and then when she came off the plane the first time, well, when she did the stalking thing there, the very first time when she actually went out to where they're living in Seattle, um, he saw her in the airport, and he was trying to catch up with her because he was just speechless, like, "Oh my god!" And I could see that point of view, I could see that take, and then like her trying to get out of her questioning her future because she's about to marry Bill Pullman's character, and she's like, "God, this is just isn't what I want." Like when she was listening to the first call in the car, and she would say out loud what he was about to say. They were saying the same things and stuff, and
Right.
I mean, I can see that side of it. It may be that it hasn't aged well in our society in the way that things have gone,
I mean, it's just
but
that
to me, that
it's the person you were meant to be with. It's what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. But for me, it was just too. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think it was. It was boring. It was just flat out boring to me. Not saying it was a bad movie. It did well. Who am I? Hey, I'm just saying I would have missed out on millions of dollars. How much did this thing make?
Look, according to a mutual friend of ours, if you want a good love story, you should watch Armageddon or Roadhouse. I'm not going to say his name, but he knows who he is if he's listening right now.
Yeah, yeah.
He knows who he is.
I'm talking
Um,
about.
I don't think that's really quite the love story that people are thinking of when they think of romance movies or anything. So,
Right, right.
but yeah, no,
Well, this being.
I did like the movie though. I
Yeah.
liked it. I didn't dislike it. Let me say that I didn't dislike the movie. Is it one of
You
my
liked it, but you didn't
favorites?
love it.
Yeah, is it one of my favorites? No.
Yeah.
Uh, I it's not one of my favorite movies, but it was pretty good. And I got the same feel for another movie Tom Cruise was in with the same Meg Ryan. You
Mhm.
got mail. I
Yep.
felt the same way about that movie. You know, it was good,
Now,
but it wasn't great.
I think You Got Mail is a far superior love story. It's executed better, the story's better. And that's what I was telling my wife. I said, this is actually pre You Got Mail. You Got Mail was kind of dealing with the same kind of the same scenario
Kind of
with a progressed um technological environment.
right. And then a lot of people started at that point. That's how a lot of people were meeting at that time frame too. There
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
they weren't using the
Yeah.
dating services. There was no more going out to bars and stuff because you just when you go out to bars, you're going home with
Mhm.
the drunkest person
That's
you could
how that's
find,
how
basically.
that's how a lot of people got disappeared too, because back then you didn't have to have, like, today you've got your Tinders and your farmers only or whatever. I don't know what else out there. Plenty of fish.
Yeah,
What? But anyway, now you've got profiles and photos, and people, get in touch with one another. They do Skype calls or meetings or whatever. So they can do video calls. You have a little bit more of a paper trail, so to speak. But I remember, I mean, we used to get on the chat rooms, on AOL, and that's where we find out where the block parties or the field parties was happening, or you talk to somebody and lie about your age. You know what I mean? But yeah, yeah, that was big there for the. It's crazy to me how that progressed so quickly. There was only a few years of that before you know the internet environment progressed even from that.
right.
All of a sudden, bang! Here comes MySpace, and that's what
And then
4 or 5 years, and then
from
Facebook.
MySpace, Facebook, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and Facebook's still big to this day. So
For sure, for sure. But I 100% thought that You Got Mail is a far superior movie to Sleepless in Seattle. When we got done with Sleepless in Seattle, I turned around on right here on the couch in the same place that I'm sitting right now. And I told her, I said, I'm mad at you for watching that movie. And she's like, what? She's like, what are you talking about? I said, I said, that movie, I said, women, just women in general, it's your fault that I watched that movie. And she's like, well, I didn't really like it either. I was like, yeah, but that don't matter. but but yeah, no, it's
but
I would not recommend. I would say this. I would say that I told her I'm not recommending that. I was being silly, but I was like, I'm not going to recommend that movie to anybody. But I would say if you do enjoy romantic movies, if you do enjoy the love stories and stuff like that, give it a go. But I would also add to that there is such a selection of movies that I personally, if you were going to ask me personally for my advice on a good rom-com or romantic, just flat out romantic movie, this would not be in my top 20 recommendations.
yeah, this is that definitely you've answered one question I had for you already. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and throw it out there, and then we can get it out of the way. But it was basically Meg Ryan playing Annie Reed with a mix of curiosity, romance, and doubt. Do you think her character is likable, or does she cross the line with her obsession over Sam?
She's a creeper, dude.
That's what I'm
She's
saying.
a
You've already
creeper.
answered it. You've already answered that one
Not only
already.
is she a creeper, she's a butthole because the way she's doing. Okay, I mean, now I give her character to respect. She did come out and tell him what was going on. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But I'm
yeah,
saying I look at this movie as a lesson to people like just got sinus issues. Like, you ain't sexy. And see, they didn't even have the masks for the sleep apnea back then. It was just a big old Vicks vapor rub machine blowing out the humidifier, they call it.
yeah.
Yeah, he just
Or
had to take
pew.
a bunch of mission medicine and clean his humidifier. You know, that was making him out like he wasn't all sexy because he had some food allergies and stuff. I didn't appreciate that.
So, alrighty then. So now Tom Hanks's character delivers a heartfelt performance as Sam Baldwin. What makes him such a relatable and lovable character for a leading man in this movie?
Oh, widower dad, man. He's a widower dad. That's one of the things at the beginning of the movie. My wife, my wife's counselor, and that's one of the things that she said. She said those are some of the most difficult clients that I deal with. And she said, but they're also some of the most inspirational because seeing them in that broken place and then coming out of it to start to live again. Like he said, I'm going to wake up every day. He had a kid to think about too, and he
Right.
said in the movie, I'm going to wake up every day and tell myself to breathe until I stop having to remind myself to breathe in the mornings. And it's like, yeah, that part was poignant. Now that part was good, but yeah, it's so relatable to him because the way he described her, you know, what was it? What was so wonderful? What were the things that you loved about your life and or your wife? And he said, how long is your show? you know
Yeah.
and then he
Right.
started, he said it's the little things, but but the thing about that is too, that's a reminder to all of us or anyone that watches this movie. Now that I'll okay, I'm starting to talk myself into this might have been a little bit of a better movie than I gave it credit for,
So
but
yeah,
that part right there is a reminder that we should cherish what we have while we have it, because we don't think about those things in day-to-day life, especially in relationships. We don't think about those little things about our partner that we fell in love with to begin with. We just think about the daily grind that over time breaks us down and wears us down. And we forget how to be partners and how to love one another, and we forget those things that we appreciate. We only think about what's in front of us and getting on our nerves. So I think that's one of the things that was so appealing about him was his the way he spoke on the phone call, and the
well,
way
it's
he's
all
trying to teach his son to be a good guy.
right. So while trying to be a good father, he's having to cope with trying to learn to love again or trying to find a woman that grabs his attention and everything else.
Mhm.
Let's throw a couple more here at you then. Sleepless in Seattle explores the idea of destiny and soulmates. Do you believe in love at first sight or love even before the meeting? So,
Wow.
love before the meeting means basically that it's your destiny that you're going to meet this person eventually anyway, and you're finally, when you do see them, that's when the that love hits you, and it's love at first
I
sight at that point.
I used to. I used to. I really did. And I could name off a few women them from my past that I would think that I was love at first sight. But I'm gonna tell you, my wife now, we have a long storied history, and it wasn't anything close to love at first sight for either of us. Um, it was it was kind of having fun and passing to be. She said it perfect yes today. Actually, we're best friends. We're friends first, and when we met, we started cutting up as friends, and led one thing led to another type thing, and it was a very long progression for the falling in love thing to come in. So I used to full on be like, oh, that's my soulmate, that's the one I'm supposed to be with. But now I'm not so sure, because the way that the relationship that my wife and I have grown into, there is nothing that's going to tear us apart. There is no other person that's going to come in and take one of us away from the other. We're just going to decide one day, I don't want to be with you no more. If that was to ever happen, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
I would, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think it's possible, but I think that love varies so much. That and the fact that love isn't, to me, love isn't a thing. Love is an action. Love isn't something. It's something you do. You know what I mean? To love someone is an action. It's not a feeling.
So, how did you interpret the ending of the movie? Do you think Sam and Annie ended up together, or did it just left wide open?
I don't know, man. I think the little boy might. Well, I mean, pretty stepmom. She's cool. She's good for dad, but she got to move all the way across the country. She might have heard another dude on the radio station. I think maybe 5 years down the line, living in Seattle, they got tired of the rain. Things was getting on each other's nerves. She probably started smelling like baloney
Oh
at some
God,
point, and he
here he
smelled like he probably started smelling like strawberry Laffy Taffy and
What
liver
is your
mush sandwiches.
what is your thing with bologna? You said
I
the
don't know,
same thing
man.
about Julia Roberts, man. Come on.
Some of these skinny, pretty girls just look like they might have some weird bo.
Oh my God, what are we gonna do with him, people? What are we gonna do with him? Um, well, we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping things up. I mean, this has been our first episode of this month of the theme we're going on, and next week, as we said, it's gonna be Shakespeare in Love. So when you get done listening with this one and shaking your head at Travis, then
Yep.
just remember
Go look up Shakespeare in Love and watch it,
he picked
and then
right. He
wait for
picked
our
it.
next week.
He picked it. So if you don't like it, you can blame him along with his outlook on you know
Yeah. And be
baloney.
prepared for me to have questions as to why you didn't like it.
Oh, you're just gonna assume already I don't like it. It's what you're gonna do.
No,
That's what
no,
you're doing.
I'm talking to the listeners.
Oh,
If
okay.
you didn't, like, you can go ahead, you can get me down the road, but I'm gonna need some legitimate reasons because this movie is so phenomenal.
All right. Well, everybody prepare for it. Like he said, there's gonna be a test. Just prepare. So anyway, we're glad everybody's listening to us out there and sharing this. I've been noticing some increase in downloads and everything here lately, so that's cool. So thanks for that. If you are new listening to the show, make sure you follow us and like us and everything. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can give us a review there. It's a 5-star rating or up to a 5-star rating. And then if you listen to us on iTunes, then you can give us a little small written review there as well, which does help us propel us up into the algorithm for downloads and everything. So we'd appreciate that also. Uh, you're going to find us on video at YouTube, www.youtube.com/ at retro life for you. And we have a website, which is www.retrolife, the number 4, the letter u.com. And you can listen to us in the web browser as well as watch the video on there as well if you go to the show notes. So, show notes of each episode.
Yeah, and then you can send us emails and stuff like that, and let's absolutely let us know. Give us a few more listens and let us know what you think about the format. Would y'all like to hear more '90s stuff, more '80s stuff? We've already kind of decided that we're gonna go back and kind of do a flip flop thing, but give us a couple more listens and see what you think about the two movies at a time. Kind of swapping off, and maybe something we knock around, like Chris said earlier, later in the future, and time in kind of 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon some way.
Yeah, I mean, we can also just do this like in, like maybe once or twice a month or something, or we can
Yeah.
yeah, just once every so often, like we do our top fives or something. But anyway,
A
it's a new
Welcome
way.
to the Retro Life for You double feature.
Double feature. Get your popcorns and your drinks. Sit
That's
down
right.
and enjoy the
Ooh,
show.
yeah.
Uh, Social media, Facebook, Instagram, at both places. Follow us there. Share us with your friends and family. Uh, like he said, retro life for you at gmail.com. Write us, let us know what you think about the episodes. Uh, Comment on the YouTube when you're there watching that. Hit the notification bell so you know we got something new come out. And that being said, that pretty much knocks out all of what I got. Travis, do you are you prepared with anything this week as you usually end the show with something that's like theme related, or do you just have anything
Uh,
at all for us?
well, I have a theory I want to share with you,
Okay,
or it might be a question. What what do you call Tom Hanks when he gets scared?
what?
A petrified forest.